welcome to this edition of the Sawyer Report. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. An artist is defined as a person who produces works in any of the arts that are primarily subject to aesthetic criteria, or a person who practices one of the fine arts. The term is often used in the entertainment business, especially in a business context for musicians and other performers, less often though for actors. In the early 60s and 70s, men and women like Sidney Poitier, Esther Rolle, and Roxy Roker helped to inspire generations of aspiring actors. At the same time, the Munnings brothers, Ronnie Butler and the Oberman helped to take Bahamian music and musicians to the world. And later, the successes of groups like Bahaman and filmmaker Maria Govan gave hope to a new generation of Bahamian artists. But are these rare success stories or just the beginning of a performing arts industry that's ready to explode? On this edition of the Sawyer Report, we're talking to a new generation of artists and talking to them about their future. My guest for this segment, a talented young lady who is a vocalist, producer, songwriter, and a musician who plays the drums, the acoustic guitar, and keyboard. Sion Fox, welcome.
Hi.
Along with Tony McCartney, this young actor has appeared in over 20 productions, including stage, film, TV shows, live concerts, voiceovers, local films, and even has done some work in songs and music. Some of his more famous work has included parts in Busters, Into the Blue, and Casino Royale. Welcome.
What's up, Jerome?
Now, we are here to talk about young Bahamian artists and your future. Now, we can't talk about your future unless we tell our audience a little bit about how you got started. Sion, I'm going to begin with you. In reading your biography, I was fascinated about how you got started in the industry. Give us a little insight into how this all began for you.
Well, I would have to say it really started at the age of 7 for me, where I started playing drums, growing up in the church. I was always influenced by music. My dad plays the guitar, so I wanted to be a part of that in the church. And now I'm actually 23 now, and it's just very easy for me to make a track, produce music, and sing and write and everything. It flows so easily for me. When I started my production, just getting into the feel of using softwares like Pro Tools and Reasons, I started at the age of 16, and that's where I came in contact with Tada. She's a very awesome person in introducing me to music and also all of the various studios around town and getting to know persons and the industry of arts. And for that, I want to thank her for that, because it actually it encouraged me to continue doing what it is I'm doing now. And you
do so many things which I find interesting. You write, you sing, you produce, you play all these instruments.
Right.
And I read too that you have your own studio.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, the studio started 2 years ago. That's when I was, really serious about it, where I said, I'm going to just go ahead and buy my own equipment and just start making my own music. Instead of having to, spend so much money on studio time and producing and mixing and all that stuff, I was like, I have the talent. I know what I want. I know the sound that I want to hear. So let me do it myself. And so I learned about it, went online, figured out how to use the software, what I needed, and from there on, I just...
How did you fund all of this? 'Cause starting a studio is not cheap.
Well, I actually went ahead and I pushed in getting a loan, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And I went ahead, was happy that I was approved, and bam, that's how it all started for me. And so now I'm actually doing tracks and producing other tracks for various artists, locally and internationally. And it's a really good experience for me. And I just launched my website and all that stuff, so now people can hear it, they can hear my music, hear my talents, view my arts and everything like that. And so I'm very excited at this point right now.
It sounds like you're on the right track.
Yes.
Definitely. Tony McCartney, let's talk about your career, how you got started.
Let's see, back in, I think it was grade 5 or something like that, back in elementary. Just started, picking up the flute, playing music. I did a play back in elementary about, I was a shepherd, and that was just a basic introduction for me.
You were a shepherd in the,
the shepherd,
in the Christmas play. Yeah, I think we've all had some role in the Christmas play.
So it started there, and then, when I went to SOC, I discovered I had a voice. So, I joined the choir, and my music teacher, big up to Esau McKenzie, he was able to, take my instrument there and, really help me to, develop it out. And, I just got into music too. I got into acting. I joined a local drama club we had in the school, and, things took off from there. I remember when I was about 14, I was sitting home watching the TV one day, and I was like, this is what I need to do for the rest of my life, and I was just
So you decided at 14,
that was it, right, and I had to just sort it out. I was going to move and everything, and at 15, I was ready to move off to school, but, parents didn't have the money, so, I stayed back and, just developed my craft and, picked up plays or productions, whatever was happening at the time, and then it took me into, when I left high school, I decided to move to New York. I think, you've heard the story before, I saved up about 5 years, and was really going to move to New York with a friend of mine, and things didn't work out. Just invested the money in a failed investment. I lost over $6,000, and, back in 06, I was just really, finished. I had it. I was fed up. And, I just stuck with it, and, things started to work out for me. Back in 08, the armed robbery and everything, I was robbed at gunpoint. Went through a bad case of food poisoning, almost died, and it was just a really difficult time for me, and I just had to just sit back and just, find some sort of sense in the whole situation. I was close to just ending everything. So.
But what motivated you to continue? I mean, you've hit all these obstacles. You've had financial problems. You have now health issues. Everything seems to be going wrong, but you stuck with it.
Right. At the time I was working at First Caribbean, that's why I'm still employed right now as a bank teller. I met a coworker of mine that really became a close friend of mine. He's not with us today, Kevon Brown. But he really, he said, listen, you have something, you need to stick with it. And I remember that night I was about to just end it all. I just called him up and I told him, I'm so depressed and this is going on. And he just, through talking with him and he talking with me, he sort of, helped me out and just gave me the energy that I need to keep going. And it was part of, I've been at it so long, for how many years now, why am I going to give up now, when it feels like it's so close, it's so there. Like you were saying, I've been in a few films already, Into the Blue. As an extra, it's not a big part, but I got my first dose being on the motion picture.
Being on the set.
Being on the big set,
right.
Met Paul Walker and, meeting these actors and these people that I look up to so much. And it just gave me the motivation to keep going. Like, if I can be right there, it's right there, and I just got to keep going, And just, from that, it's kept me going.
Sion, what was the most difficult thing about getting started? You knew you had this talent, you had this yearning to do this thing. What was the most difficult thing about getting started?
The most difficult thing about getting started, I guess for everyone, really, is finances, having and finding the money to get everything done with production, with marketing. That was the biggest deal. But with working and then also working off my regular daytime job and then just doing my music and just trying to make an income from that, it's all helping towards getting to where I want to go. And so I'm just doing my best in trying to put much more interest into my music, but at the same time, accumulate as much funds as I can before I really get there so that I can just focus on it full time and not just do my music as a part-time thing anymore. Because it does require a lot of time. It requires just being steadfast and motivated in what you want to do. But finances is definitely the biggest issue for anyone. Because motivation is not a problem. But to be motivated, you got to have some money. So, that's what I'm definitely working towards and getting all that sorted out.
Do people take you seriously when you say, I want to be an actor?